Yeah, g'day and welcome back to my channel. My mate Luke down in Malta gave me this dial stand and it's very nice, but it needs a bit of a clean up. So let's do that today. So what do you use this indicator stand for? The main thing they're used for is just measuring thickness and the surface of smallish items. And since I've now got a surface grinder, I'm probably going to be doing quite a lot of that. So let's get stuck in and give this thing a full overhaul and restoration. Wee bit of rust coming up on there. Have to address that. Bit of a burr on there that needs dressing. Well, that's actually painted. It looks like that hammerite sort of paint. I never was a great fan of that stuff. Now this sort of table piece is separate from the base. It's just screwed on. Okay, that stud undid at the wrong end. When they made these studs, it looks like they just parted them off, but didn't clean up the faces. It sure looked like the pip left by a parting tool. Okay, so there was a washer under there. Whole thing's got a pretty thick anti-corrosion goop on it. Okay, this is just wax. Looks like they might have made an error when they machined this. This pad should have been higher and was machined off, or something went wrong there. Right, next question, how do I get the column out? On the casting at the bottom, I don't see any sort of retention features. Kind of guessing that under this paint there might be some set screw or something which holds it, or the whole thing's screwed in. But if it was screwed in, I'd expect some form of a hex or some way of screwing it back out, and I don't see that. So I'll just knock the paint off around here and see if I can find a screw under there. Quite a bit of body filler on it. And the other option, of course, is that it's just a press fit, also possible. Maybe it is, because I'm not seeing any signs of a screw under here. Let's see if it is just a friction fit. Oh, yep, sure enough, it's coming nicely. That's soon going to fall out on the floor, so to prevent that, I'll just put the chair under it. Oh, nasty. How to make an interference fit? Yeah, just bash it a bit, put some dents in it. Wow. When I reinstall it, I think I'll use a more modern version of that called Loctite. Might as well get the rest of this old paint off. Casting defect through here, looks like that might have been the gate. I got accused of doing an overly pretty restoration on this vise. It was said that I would never use it. Yeah, nah. Just get the worst wax or whatever it was off it before it goes in the ultrasonic cleaner and then the sandblaster. Right, since everything's iron based and I don't care about the paint, I'll use lye as a solvent. Okay, looks like that's all the grease gone. Oh, I should have taken that screw out. That looks a lot better. I'll probably still take the hammerite paint off it because I don't like hammerite paint, but it's cleaned up nicely. You know, for rough paint stripping, I know of no method faster than a carbide scraper. Right, next up, sandblasting the base casting. I may even do a bit more fettling on the casting, that which the foundry would normally have done. Did I mention that I don't like hammerite paint? Now, while these exterior surfaces of this block have no function, they look ugly enough that I'd kind of like to improve them. And I don't want to paint them, but what I could do is surface grind them. Now at the moment this magnetic chuck is not very accurate. Oh, it's not holding very well either. Might put another block behind it. This mag chuck's got a hollow in it, but this is only going to be a cosmetic grind anyway. Right, well there's the first side finished. Took a while, but it looks way better than it did before. Part's still nice and cool. So now, just rinse and repeat 5 more times. Alright, 2 sides now done. And look at the difference. You know, this looked pretty rough before, but that's beautiful. Now I've been trying to find a position on the magnetic chuck which holds the parts somewhat parallel in the hope of getting it finishing with somewhat parallel work. So let's zero that. Okay, so that idea of locating it, so that idea of compensating for the inaccuracy of the magnetic chuck by finding the right spot is useless. Right, so far I didn't put any effort into making this thing square, but these ends are way off. But if I use the grinding vise, which I've never checked the squareness of, it must end up better, right? And while that's grinding, we can do a bit of shoegazing. Well, what a cool machine. Well, with that now looking pretty, I can switch over to the base casting and try and fix that the little table doesn't sit flat and rocks around. So I measured it up as best as I could and did a quick model in FreeCAD of the most important bits, which are just these bosses and the holes. When I first modelled this, I put the centre line of those 2 holes perpendicular to the centre line of those 2. But taking a closer look at it, yeah, that's not accurate because the centre line of this one does not go through the centre line of this one. So what I then had to do was just double check whether this thing sits square with those holes. And it basically does, so we're not going to move any holes. So to be able to model those holes accurately, I took a photo of the whole thing, imported into FreeCAD, scaled the photo to get all the distances correct. Once I had that, I could rotate this bolt pattern until it matched. I was planning to use FreeCAD's path workbench to generate the G-code, but unfortunately there's an error that's caused by macOS's latest build. So I switched over to my ancient FeatureCam 2005 and modelled it in there instead. That old program's got a post-processor editor in it, and I once took the time to set it up to output code, which works really well with my Linux CNC-powered Maho. the gearbox in neutral. Right, well, after a bit of bumping around and touching off and bumping around and touching off, I've now got that hole aligned with this hole, which is good. So now I can bolt the thing down. You can see from the angle made to the table how wonky this thing was originally machined. Throw in one more clamp just to restrain its movement in case it does try to move around a little. Just need to set the offset for this tool. Just double check the height. Yep, that looks good, 50 millimeters. Oh wow, that cast iron cut like butter. That's great. Probably got a little bit of movement due to the vibration because you can see there's a wee bit of rise up here, but barely tactile. So now that I've beached down below the old surface, I'll just touch off and find out which one of these bosses, probably this one, is the lowest, and then bring all three of them down to that same level. I just commanded these moves with the MDI, didn't bother programming anything. Right before that was rocking, now it's not. Great. Now with that machining done, I can prep for painting. Right, I'll start by just giving it a good wipe down with some thinners. Right, while that Bondo's hardening, I can clean up these two shafts. Right, well, after mechanical rust removal, I'm not really that keen on this blotchy look, so I think I'll give it some chemical treatment as well. Cut open a bottle. And now the citric acid rust removal. Right, I'll leave that sitting there for about 20 minutes. Just neutralize the acid. I'll just clean up that end a bit. It's got a bit of a burr on it. This bar's right on the max diameter that'll pass through the bore on this lathe. And unfortunately, there's a key sticking out to index the collets, and that's why I can't put this in any further than that, because I'm hitting that key. I'll just have to take fine cuts. You can see the various dents and stuff in the end there that I want to face off. There was also a burr on here, so I'll just clean that up with a file. And with that done, we're back to paint prep. Hey, now while that paint's drying, I've got a special request for you. Last week, Wednesday, I went to a concert, and it was the 1990s shoegaze band, Ride. They were fantastic. The opening act was Like Elephants, a local band from here in Austria, and I really enjoyed them. Their influences were pretty obvious. Walking in, I thought I was listening to The Church. There was some Cure in there, there was some Joy Division, New Order, all those great bands from the 80s. Anyway, after the concert, I googled them and I saw they have a YouTube channel. I would request that all of you please click on the link here or down in the comments section and check out Like Elephants. Fantastic sounding band. Give them some love. Thanks very much. Right, so I went through, spotted a few more little defects with filler and rubbed down the undercoat with just 2000 grit sandpaper, and it's time for a top coat. Are you also curious as to how flat this is? Let's give it a quick deburr. The back's definitely not flat, or at least maybe it had a burr on it. Right, let's just blue this up and have a look. I normally like to thin down the Prussian blue ink with just a little bit of WD-30. Well, what does it look like? Okay, so as you can see, it's not perfectly flat. There's not much I can do about that at this stage because my surface grinder is not dialed in yet. So I think I'll just leave this for now. Maybe at some later point, once I've got my surface grinder dialed in and working to micron tolerances, then I can come back and give this a grind. Okay, so I've just realized that that looks like crap. It's just a rough machined unfinished face. Now I probably should have fixed that before I painted it, but since I didn't, right, well that's a much more attractive surface. I guess we can start reassembly. Just give this a coat of wax. Right, let's put a gauge in there. So this is a piece of steel which I have surface ground on both sides, and I just wanted to show you why I only use my surface grinder for cosmetic work at the moment, because you'll see just how inaccurate it grinds. Right, zero to this corner. Over at this corner, we're at plus 34 microns, plus 40, and plus 65. Now, how does that compare to a commercial 123 block? So there you go, even a cheap import 123 block is way more accurate than I can currently grind with my surface grinder. And to really push the accuracy, once the surface grinder is dialed in, then I'll resurface the top of this. Well, I'm now very happy with how this has come out. I'm really glad I went over this block with the grinder and also that boss, because I think that boss is now my favorite feature. It's quite a heavy beast. Did you really want to mess with these sorts of things so they don't vibrate around? Definitely improvement on what it was like before. Now I just need to get my surface grinder working well enough to really do it justice. Hey guys, did you see that Quartararo put the Yamaha on pole for this weekend's French MotoGP? What an amazing bit of riding. Now if you're still watching at this point, you're probably enjoying my nice little restoration. Therefore, I'd suggest you stick around and watch the next one, which is this Vice. Thanks a lot for watching.